Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
So, we got a good one in store for you today. As usual, the update is expected to hit in the next hour, so at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. BST. And as with all first Thursday updates of the month, you can expect a forced map wipe across the board. Now, there is no sign of a forced blueprint wipe. However, many servers, including most Rustafied servers, do wipe blueprints when the forced map wipe hits. The exception on Rustafied servers is medium threes, long threes, and the mini servers. So, just as a heads up. But yeah, we'll get into what is coming in this update. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to do at Miss D underscore, that's me, in chat, and we'll get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. So, first and foremost, there is a new tin can alarm going live with the update today. Now, this is kind of like a lower level, pretty easy to craft device that not only can help with base defense and perimeter defense, but it can also help you at monuments and various points around the map because not only can it be placed around your base, but it also can be placed on trees and at various points in the monuments. And to craft it, it's really easy. It's 100 wood, 1 rope, and 2 empty tuna cans. And how it works when you're placing it is you kind of place the alarm down first, and then you get this wire that you can then run for up to about 2 foundations distance. And you can place that wire on many different things, walls, again, trees, and also different things at the monument. And you just run it like you would run pretty much an electrical wire, things of that nature. And you place it down, and then when someone goes through that wire, and it is kind of hard to see that wire because it is pretty thin once you place it. And once they run through it, it just makes kind of a tin can clatter noise type of thing, which is what you would expect looking at the design of the alarm. And the alarm itself actually shakes a little bit, and you hear those tin cans clatter. Now, given it's kind of a low tier item, it has pretty low HP, so it can be destroyed pretty easily. A couple whacks from a tool, and it'll be taken out, or you can shoot it if you really want to. But it does really help with, again, not only perimeter defense around your base, but if you're working something in a monument or around, or you want to hide in a bush and know when someone goes through, it can be set off pretty easily. And it's actually, depending on where you place it, it can be pretty easy to miss and just trip that wire. If you do see it, in most instances, you can probably jump over it, or again, you can just destroy the thing pretty simply because it's only 50 HP. But when the sound is emitted, you can actually hear it from about, we were seeing like 50 meters away. So it does travel sound wise a pretty good distance, and it just is a good way to let you know when people are in the area and can kind of alert you to that without attracting too much attention. Now, again, it's 1 rope, 100 wood, and 2 empty tuna cans to craft. It's a level 1 workbench required. Just to confirm, is it still a default blueprint or do you have to research this guy?
No, it looks like you have to research it now.
Yeah, they did just change that in the past week. So you do have to research it, but I'm sure the research cost is really low. And it has, again, 50 HP, and the wire length goes, yeah, about 2 foundations. And so, yeah, it's just a nice little new perimeter defense tool and alerting tool for things all over the map. And again, that is the new tin can alarm coming in today. Now, also coming in today is some improvements to dropped items in water. What they've done is they've added some real buoyancy to the items when dropped into the water. So, with that, they've increased the drag on submerged items. It used to be just zero point 0.1, which is basically like a free fall in the water. And what they've done this week is increase that to 7. And so That really slows the descent of items dropped in the water. And there's the bubbles and everything that follow the item. So when you're dropping something in the water or if something gets dropped in the water, it not only kind of falls a lot slower, but it's a lot easier to track where it is and a lot easier to get it again if you so are inclined. And there's also with this a little like splash effect on the base of the water, and it kind of moves around to mimic the like motion of the ocean, so to speak. So you'll see some physics impulse every 1 or 2 seconds that kind of mimic what maybe the currents of the water would do as an actual item were being dropped. So that's a cool little addition coming in as well. Now, also, we've got some improvements to zip lines. And now, what they've done is you're going to see roughly the same total distance on like a 4K map. The total distance of zip lines is going to be roughly the same as what it was. But what they've done is made it so each platform is equipped with 4 new dismount points, 2 on the side and 2 higher up. And that basically makes it easier to transition from zipline to zipline platform without the need for climbing as much as you previously had to do. And on top of that, the whole layout of the zip lines from platform to platform has been adjusted to favor destination points that are further away and higher up. So you're basically just going to be able to travel a further distance and not need to climb as many ladders in between each one. And then finally, this optimization does extend the max zipline distance. Previously, it was 150 meters, but now it's going to be 185 meters. So that's been increased by a little bit, a little less than 25%, but that should give you a better overall zipline experience as you're ziplining around the map after the forced wipe. Now, in addition to this, there are some changes to vendors, and this is with regards to the NPC vendor pricing and stock. And so, first and foremost, the starting stock of the vendors has increased to 20. And so I think it was 10 before, but there's going to just be more stock, a default of 20 stock in each vendor. And this is, of course, the vendors at Outpost and things like that. And in addition to this, they've modified the frequency of when the price adjustments happen. So previously, it was happening basically 4 times per in game day. So, said another way, it was happening basically every 15 minutes. And what they've done is changed it so now it happens once every 5 in-game days. So, said another way, it happens once every 5 hours. And kind of the goal with this is to stabilize prices a bit and smooth out the dramatic price drops that could occur, a week into a longer wipe cycle. And so the prices should be a little bit more predictable and ideally create a little more fair trading environment. The other thing we're seeing is it does look like with server restarts, it's no longer just setting everything back to 200% the price from the get go on the server restart. This isn't 100% confirmed, but based on what we were seeing on the restarts of our test server here, it does look like that has been modified by default. And so a lot of servers, due to performance, need to restart every day. And oftentimes it's in the morning. For Rustafied servers, it's 6 a.m. local time for the region. We do a server restart, and that just clears out the memory and various other things. But what was happening is after that server restart, it would have the prices inflate 200% again. And it looks like that's been modified so they're not inflating as much anymore after a server restart. So that's a nice little thing as well. Now, on top of all this, they did a number of fixes throughout the month and some various, fixes slash quality of life stuff. So they now allow bikes to work in elevators. So that's a cool thing. If you want to take an elevator with a bike, then you are now able to do that. They did fixed the fishing tackle mission. It was basically just not working right with some inventory stuff and wasn't doing the proper checks for required mission items. And that has been resolved for that fishing tackle mission. So it should be functioning more as intended. They also did some disabling of saving on the NPC vending machine traveling vendor stuff, which, although not really going to have an impact, I don't think, on the player end, it does potentially fix an entity leak. And anytime we see a fix for things like entity leaks, that could be a good source of performance improvements. And as I have noted in the past couple weeks, unfortunately, one of the things we saw with the update last month was poor performance, especially on the server side. And subsequently, it had us really required to cap the server pops, especially for longer wipe servers and also larger pop servers. Performance was just not holding up like it was the month prior to that. And so it's nice to see some potential fixes to that. And hopefully, we will be seeing better server performance after this update. Along the same lines, what they did was wrap a bunch of the loose logs of the Harbor Crane and Harbor Ship with editor checks to prevent log spam. And whenever logs are spamming, that can be another source of performance degradation. And so it's cool to see that as well. And hopefully, the combination of a couple of these things and maybe some other things in the background will have us see better server performance once this update hits. Now, for Rustified servers, we do have dynamic populations on some of our servers, and we've been playing with that so that when there's really a high demand for people to go in, we can raise the pop a bit, not have such huge queues, and allow more people to play and get into the game earlier in the wipe. But of course, with that, what we prioritize is performance more so than cramming people into the server. And so, what we're going to do after this update is we're going to keep a close eye on performance, especially again on the larger pop servers. And we're going to do our best to find that balance with getting the most people we can into the server, but also not having server performance go downhill. And a couple wipes or a couple days into the wipe, if we are seeing degraded performance again, we will unfortunately have to cap the pops a little bit more. So if you see that, then just understand that this is due to the current situation of performance and optimization in the game. And we're really doing our best to find that balance between the two and allow as many people in, but still have a great, smooth experience for everyone who is in the actual server. Now, on top of that, in the realm of fixes, there's a bunch more. And as always, you can see all the stuff on rustified.com. I also did try for the first time posting the text of my article on X or Twitter or whatever as well, because they now allow for article posting. So instead of having to go to the website each time, if you are on Twitter, then you can actually just scroll through and read the whole article just on there in one post. And I'm going to play with this. This is a feature of like Twitter Premium Plus or something like that, which is something I didn't even realize I signed up for. And then I saw my monthly bill and it was, I'm getting charged for it. And I looked into it and I'm like, oh, well, it does allow for posting articles. So let me see if that provides value to people and is just an easier place for people to read the article. So we're going to try that a little bit. And also, please let me know if you like that feature. Feel free to comment on the post on X and be like, yeah, please keep doing this if you like it. Again, I'll try it for a couple weeks, and if it works well, I'll keep doing it and I'll keep paying the monthly subscription to be able to do it. But if people don't care, they don't want to read like a big wall of text, then I'll just stop doing it and maybe cancel that subscription. But nevertheless, we do an article on rustified.com every week, and for each update at the beginning of the month, first Thursday, we really just have an article that summarizes everything coming in the update. But back to the fixes, basically, they did fix some issues with card games and idle kicks related to the card games. They also fixed the pager not being activated when getting on a horse if the pager was in a saddlebag. They also fixed being kicked for fly hack violations when jumping on ocean junk piles, which is a good fix to see. They modified the seismic sensor vibration level. They actually fixed it so that it doesn't reset when unpowered. They also fixed the wire I/O errors that would happen when you're standing near certain deployables. So that's good to see. They fixed the kitchen cabinet and kitchen cooker incorrectly being positioned. They had an incorrect collider basically in the underwater labs, desert bases, and Arctic bases. So that's just a little, collider position fix going on there. They also have a potential fix for boats drifting under the map. And they say potential because it looks like it's fixed in some cases, but it may still have some fringe cases where that does happen. Nevertheless, they are aware of it and working on it. And let's just intend that that does fix it for all instances of when boats are drifting and they just won't go under the map anymore. They also did some fixes for some weird stuff that was happening with the new disconnect grace period that was built into the game. And this launched the other month. And what we were seeing is it wasn't always working properly. It was having some weird issues where certain people didn't get a reserve slot when they could, and then other people were getting reserve slots when they shouldn't. So basically, they did some fixes for the reserve slot stuff and that disconnection grace period stuff. And so hopefully that is just working better now. There's also a fix for spectators getting a black screen sometimes, and so that should be resolved. And there are fixes for planters missing the underside faces. Large and small planters were just missing some things, and so those are back added in. They also did a spelling fix for a decal on the work cart. It was just one word was misspelled or something. So that's fixed. And I know that's going to relieve a lot of people. And then they also fixed homing missile UI staying on the screen when switching perspective while spectating. And they also, in regards to spectator stuff, fixed the team UI not displaying properly. So that spectator stuff is something that most players probably aren't going to deal with, but is nice for quality of life of admins who are in spectating players and trying to get rid of hackers. And then there's a couple other things in the realm of other stuff. They did this Apple Silicon and ARM64 native libraries were added to the Unity editor, and so people using Apple Silicon can use the Unity editor now if they want to like do custom mapping and things like that. Also, trains are allowed to smash through deployed cover barricades now. So if there is a barricade on a train track, the train will just kind of smash right through it, which is a nice quality of life thing. They did tune the motorbike headlights a bit, so those are just going to look a little different and ideally look a little better. And they doubled the elevator max floor limit. So it looks like this is opening up the possibility for certain procedural maps to have just much taller elevator shafts than previously were able to be done. With regards to the traveling vendor, the stock will now refill every 33% of the vendor's total lifetime. So previously it was infinite. And now what it is it's going to be limited. And when the vendor comes out, it'll have a certain limited stock. And then once it's like a third of the way done with its traveling vendor event, it'll refill. And then it'll refill one more time before it exits the map and finishes that server event. And then finally, they added a print archon clients command to the kind of command list in F1. And what this allows for is server admins to see a list of all connected archon clients, just to be able to audit that a little bit and make sure that the proper people are connected and no improper people are connected. And yeah, that's about what we have going on in this update today. Now, there is, of course, a bunch of other stuff being worked on. There's a Frontier DLC, a new Hazmat DLC. There's the Radtown Redux, which is a new monument we saw the preview to the other week. And that's going to be a new monument with like probably 8 outbuildings. And it kind of has a road that goes through the middle of it. And is surrounded by a bit of a stone fence. And it'll provide some new loot opportunities, probably have some radiation, of course. And it's just kind of this throwback to the rad towns of the legacy days. So that doesn't look like it made it in for the update today. But given the preview, it looks like it's really coming along nicely. And so I imagine we'll see that for the September update. Um, maybe October, but I'm thinking probably September. They're also in the realm of monuments working on this jungle ruins monument and several new animals that look like they'll come with that. And so the jungle ruins will probably include some crocodiles and some snakes, so some new adversarial PvE animals. And who knows, it may even have its own kind of small jungle biome. So we could, for the first time in years, see like a new biome added to the procedural generation maps, which would be really cool. Some new additional contrast and everything like that. And there's a bunch of other stuff being worked on as well. Some wolf AI changes and various other things. There's the blunderbuss weapon or blunderbuster, which is going to be a new kind of low grade shotgun of sorts, probably a single fire shotgun. And there's the SKS rifle that still hasn't quite made it in from what we can see, but it's still on the in the hopper, so to speak, and various other things being worked on. So, although this isn't the largest content update that we've seen in the year, as far as just new things coming in, I do, share about these other things because the team has not only expanded and they have more people working on development, but they're working on some pretty cool stuff. And so there's some very cool things on the horizon. And as always, what we'll do is keep you up to date with an article each week. It goes live Thursday at midnight Eastern time, and then also do this update preview stream every Thursday, 1 p.m., same time, same place, to keep you up to date on what is going on in Rust development. But yeah, that about does it for what we've got going on so far. The update is looking like it's going to be at normal time. So, generally speaking, how that works is we'll see in about 20 minutes or so, we'll see the server update go live. And then about 10 minutes after that, we see the client update go live. And shortly after that, we see the dev blog go live. But basically, once that client update hits, the update is officially live. And as soon as the server update hits, which again happens about 10 minutes before the client update, our systems team will start taking down all the servers and wiping them and doing all that stuff so that as soon as that client update comes out, you can connect to whatever Rustified server you want. And yeah, in the meantime, we'll just field a couple questions here and maybe test some things out. Again, if you want to ask a question or have us test anything, feel free to do at misd underscore that's me in chat. And again, we'll get to as many as we have the opportunity to.
Yes, let's get started. Is there any changes to the motorcycle mechanics?
I think there was one that snuck in, which was the steering back. So when you're steering all the way to the right, and when you let go of that, it should steer back a little quicker. And so that should be a little more agile. Thanks for mentioning that because I realized that's one of the things I missed in the article. There were a lot of miscellaneous things this month. So I believe that is coming in as well. Also, the motorbikes are allowed to be on elevators now. Previously, they weren't parented properly. And you should also be able to bring the bikes onto the cargo ship as well, like stow it away in one of those containers at harbor and have it picked up and taken onto cargo ship. And then finally, the motorbike headlights were tweaked a little bit. So they're just going to look a little different and ideally a little improved.
Okay. Um, how long does it take for the trip alarm to decay?
Oh, that's a good question. Have we seen any decay rates on that recently?
No, can't say I have to be honest. That's a really good question, but haven't tested the decay. No.
Yeah, yeah. And man, I really should have tested that. That's an oversight on our end. I want to say it's probably around 8 hours. And then once it starts decaying, it'll decay pretty quickly just because it only has 50 HP. But I feel like it's going to be lasting a good number of hours. And I'll see if we can test that or get some more information on that. And if I can, I'll add it to the article. But I wouldn't expect it to last for like days and days on end, especially out in nature. It could be one of those things as well where if you deploy it underneath a roof, maybe it'll last a little bit longer. But my gut is telling me it's probably around 6 to 8 hours before it starts decaying.
Okay. Do you have any idea why people on playing on GeForce Experience have to wait after update for so long all the time? Because they always get late wipe because of that.
I don't really have much experience with the GeForce experience or the GeForce Now, whatever that service is. So I can't really tell you. I'm sorry to hear that that's happening. I will tell you if you do use that and you're playing on Rustified servers, then you very well might have to whitelist because it does kind of classify as a VPN. And in order to reduce hackers and increase friction for hackers to get back on new accounts, we have implemented a whitelist service for VPNs and GeForce Now. So if you do run into that and you need to whitelist, just head to our Discord, rustified.com/Discord, and look at the whitelisting channel. And there's instructions right there on how to do it.
Okay, thank you, Bugs. Will Rustafied enable Linux support on your servers?
Well, the Linux support thing is not a Rustified server related thing. It's actually a game related thing. So whether the game supports Linux or not is actually out of our control. And I know it used to support Linux, but I'm guessing right now it isn't supporting Linux. It's kind of flip flop back and forth a couple times over the past 10 years since we've been tracking development. But really, it's all to say that's not something we can control. That's something that's on the developers to provide support for. And if they do, then you will be able to play on Rustified servers or any other servers. But we're not developers of the game. We're just fans of the game who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And so it's kind of out of our control there.
Um, oh, one sec. Here, I was wondering what happened to the power from power lines for powering bases.
Yeah, that never really came in. I think it's a good idea. Like the idea that you could kind of tap into the various high tension lines that are around the map and use that as a power source. But if anything, that's kind of just sitting in concept limbo somewhere. I'm not even sure if it officially entered concept limbo, so to speak. But I do think it's a great idea. That said, I haven't heard anything about it anytime in the past, months. So your guess is as good as mine with that, but I'll keep my eyes peeled for anything regarding that.
Okay. Um, can you guys better explain what changed exactly with the motorcycle headlights?
Yeah, I mean, let's just load the headlights up. Let's grab a motorbike and load the headlights up, and we can shift it to night, and you can kind of see the commits, quite frankly, just spoke to, and the word used in the commits was tuning the motorbike headlights. So I don't get the sense it's a big change. It's just kind of tweaked them a little bit.
Okay, and when, uh, never mind. Is there an update for ESC or cheaters? Because there's so many cheaters in the game, more than before.
Oh, yeah, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. Now, cheaters are a huge issue with the game. I assert they are the biggest issue with the game. But thankfully, Facepunch is addressing the issue the best they can and working with EAC to address it. And I will say, and I'm happy to report that the situation has gotten a bit better in the last couple weeks. So we were at a point where on just Rustified servers alone, we were banning upwards of 400 people a day. This was 400 hackers that we caught by hand manually before EAC could even catch them. And I was just checking before the stream what the average number is now, and it has cut about in half. So it's like 150 to 200 people on average that we're banning a day. So that is a pretty significant improvement. Like that's half the cheaters are no longer cheating, half the people. But I'll be honest with you, 200 people a day hacking in just our family of servers is still indicative of hacking as a big problem. And so, although it's great to see progress get made, and I applaud Facepunch and a little bit less EAC for what they're doing, it's not at the point it needs to be yet. And so now, thankfully, they are continuing to work on it, especially Facepunch, I know, is prioritizing the hacker situation, and they have been, as they mentioned in one of their previous dev blogs. But yeah, I will say with confidence, it's not solved yet. If we could get down to maybe 5 or 10 hacker bans a day, I'd say, okay, that's pretty darn good. I mean, ideally, it would be zero, right? Ideally, cheating just would not be a thing. But unfortunately, it is kind of this game of cat and mouse. And what we've seen in previous years is there is an ebb and flow to that. Sometimes the hacker situation isn't so bad, other times it's really, really bad. And I will say, in the past several months of this year, especially, it's been really, really bad. So it looks like we are kind of going to the other end of that cycle because again we're seeing improvements, we are banning less people. I am seeing EAC ban people a bit quicker. Nevertheless, I'll hop on, I'll look at a report, and I'll see a team full of people with accounts that have direct IP links to previous game bans. They were accounts that were first seen 7 hours ago, and they're in the server clearly hacking, aimbotting, ESPing, and sometimes they've been in the server for an hour or two. And you'd think EAC, given it's their sole job to remove hackers, would be able to remove them quicker. At that point, do you even need to catch them cheating? Like if they're just linked to the IP and it's a brand new account, and then just look at their kill to death ratio. If they're 10-1, like no new player in the game is going to into an official server and going 10-1 kill to death. So it seems to me like there's so many other metrics and heuristics that could be taken into account here to catch these guys way, way quicker than EAC is catching. Now, we have worked on and been working on our own in house anti cheat solution. We're working with another third party anti cheat solution that does account for some of these things and alerts us of those and gets rid of the people quicker. We also have just started banning, we have a new ban reason. It's suspect account. If you have an account that's 7 hours old and you're 20-2 in a server, well, screw it. I'm not even taking the time to log in and try to spectate you. You're just getting banned for a suspect account, and then you can appeal it because, of course, sometimes people play on a Smurf account or something, and if you link to, a legit non-game banned account that has several thousand hours, then it's like, okay, our bad, we'll lift the ban. But quite honestly, the situation is so bad right now, and the
Basic and
tools,
sorry.
yeah, the tools and resources that we're given are not enough to combat it. It's like putting a forest fire out with a fucking garden hose. And so it's all to say we're doing everything we can at Rustified to remove, and we just brought some new admins on. And again, we're working on our own in-house anti-cheat solution. I've got some really great ideas. We're working on the stat system and leaderboard as well, but that's not only going to be a stat system and leaderboard. It actually, I want to get machine learning behind it to actually create a better anti-cheat solution because EAC, try as they might, has not done a job that's up to par, given that is their one job, and they've been paid to do this for 10 years. And so it's good to see improvements. Again, kudos to Facepunch. Thank you to Facepunch and EAC for working on it and making improvements. But we're not close to where we need to be to have this situation not be the problem that it is. And it's such a shame because this is games can die due to this over time. Like this can kill a game. Now, I don't think we're close to that yet here, but it is a serious issue that needs to continually be addressed and fought. And so, thank you, Facepunch, again, and keep up the good work. I look forward to over the next several weeks and months reporting on further improvements on anti cheat, and ideally, we can get to a point where we're hardly banning any hackers throughout the day, and people playing in the servers can feel more confident that when they get domed in the head out of the blue, it's actually by a legit good player. Because, of course, the other thing that happens is whenever everyone gets domed in the head, they go hacker, hacker, hacker. And I get it. There are a lot of hackers. But so often I look at that and the person has 12,000 hours in the game and they're a legit player. And, um, and so, yeah, I look forward to more improvements, but I'll continue to be transparent about our experience with the hacker situation in our servers and in the game as a whole. And it's nice to see improvements, and I look forward to more.
Let me me see here. Is there any
Ooh, server update's
new
up. Sorry to interrupt, but server update just hit. That's cool.
uh what's the maximum height of elevators now?
Doubled. So I don't know what it was before, but it's now twice that.
Okay.
Don't quote me on it, but it might have been 13.
Yeah, that rings a bell. And I'm not sure this is changing anything in procedural generation maps like now, but it does, I believe, open up the opportunity for a little more flexibility when they make some changes to maps and maybe add some new monuments that could allow for, yeah, just some bigger elevators.
Will they ever bleh. Will they ever bring back legacy rabbits?
Um, Maybe they are working on some new animals. They're improving the wolf AI. They're working on crocodiles and snakes. And so, yeah, maybe we could see some legacy rabbits, but I have not heard of any direct plans to do so.
Hmm. Has anyone ever suggested hydroelectric power generators for rivers?
That would be really cool. I love that idea. Like a little deployable that just collects a little amount of energy when you place it in the right river or things like that. I love that idea. And I believe that they still do the rust.nult.io where you can post suggestions. So I encourage you to go and post some suggestions on that.
What's the latest news on the new Red Town monument?
Well, we did see the official preview of this Radtown Redux, which is, of course, is this kind of throwback to the Radtowns of Legacy. And so what we can see, we got just last week our clearest view yet of what it's going to be. It has about 8 outbuildings. There's a road that runs through it. There's a stone wall that kind of surrounds it, and it looks like it'll definitely be a good place for some PvP action, some loot opportunities. We didn't see any NPC scientists in it yet, but also given it's still in development, that I think it is very possible we could see some blue scientist NPCs in there. But that's really where we're at. It's not making it in for this month, but I think, I mean, looking at it, it looks like design wise, it's pretty far along. And so I think there's a good chance we could see it for the September update entering the game.
Hmm. I see someone asking if there is anything to do about people teaming up on a solo server.
Yeah, please report them. Go to my.rustified.com and you just sign in through Steam and then you can report people for teaming. And it's really great if you can take a screencast, like take a video of them doing that, upload that to YouTube, and then link that YouTube video in your report. When people do that, it's really helpful and it saves us time and it helps us take action quicker. So that is what I would recommend. Also, I do want to acknowledge we used to have this thing that was like update pending, server update out, client update out in the top left. And that got the hosting for that got shut off the other week. We realized it was on some AWS instance that was charging us a crazy amount of money for just being like this little dumb icon up there. But I do acknowledge it was helpful. So we are working on bringing that back. And my goal is by September, we'll have that little status icon on the top left again. I apologize that it's not here this week.
Um, Let me see here. At what time can I update my game?
Well, when the client update comes out is when you'll want to update your game. And now, if you don't see the client update hit immediately when we say the client update is out, the best thing to do, generally speaking, is restart Steam. Or you can also right click in the Steam library, right click Rust, go to Properties, Local Files, and start the process of verifying the integrity of local game files. The first thing that does is actually ping Steam for an update. And you actually don't have to sit through the whole verification process. You can actually just cancel it immediately, but then you'll have that update queued. But again, the server update just hit a couple minutes ago, but the client update is still pending. But given we're seeing the server update hit at 34 after the hour, so it's 26 minutes before the turn of the hour, I think it's a good chance that this update is not only going to be on time, it may be a little early. So definitely get prepared with your Steam library to update as soon as you can. And our systems team is already working on wiping and updating the servers. And so our goal is to have those up as soon as possible.
Is there any information on the self-propelled? water item that was teased.
Yeah, the good old ski do item. I was thinking that was gonna make it in this month, to be honest with you, but then I had this thought that another thing they're working on is these new underwater dive sites and like wrecks underwater, which look like there'll be some new loot opportunities, not necessarily like a whole new monument, but more like some like the floating junk piles, but underwater potentially. And so potentially what they're doing is they're waiting until those are ready to go live, and then they'll launch the Ski-Doo kind of vehicle with that as sort of like a water update type of thing. So the Ski-Doo was pretty ready to go, but I think right now it's just sitting on aux 2 for further internal testing, and I imagine we might see that in September as well.
Yeah. I just remembered Bugs maybe say something about again with if people have the G-force and they have problems, with the wipe and loading in and stuff,
Yeah,
updating.
so if you are working with GeForce Now, it does kind of count as a VPN. So you do, playing on Rustified servers, want to whitelist first. You can do that by going to rustified.com/discord and going to the whitelist channel. And it's a pretty easy process, and you just kind of click a button and you can do that. It's also, I believe, under the unlock features channel as well. So that's what you want to do if you're working with GeForce Now.
Yeah. Um, Let me see. How will Archon affect your servers?
It really shouldn't. Archon doesn't really have an impact on the servers. It used to way back in the day when you connected, but now with the web Archon, it really doesn't have an impact.
Okay. Any idea when the new SKS will be released?
I really don't. I kind of thought it was going to be last month, and then I figured it would probably be this month. But if you remember what that it originally was going to be worked into one of the old Hazmat DLCs and be like a skin of the semi-auto rifle, and then they kind of nixed that and backtracked on that. And so I'm not sure if they're waiting to bring it in for a new DLC or if they're just going to release it in the game at some point. We're also still waiting on the Blunderbuster, like it's kind of a shotgun that we haven't seen enter the game yet. So there are a couple guns pending, but to be honest with you, don't really know when the SKS is going to make it in. It looked like it was ready to go. I mean, it had the sounds, it had the textures, it had all the stuff, but it just doesn't look like it got worked in yet.
Yeah. I see someone was saying we want to be able to put a flashlight on the jackhammer so we can farm at night.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do a recap and do more questions after.
Yeah, let's do it. So, as always, it's the first Thursday of the month. It's actually the first day of the month as well. So, the update is expected out any time now. The server update already came out several minutes ago. And generally speaking, we see the client update hit within 10 to 15 minutes after that. So, we should be only like 10 or so minutes away from that client update hitting. Our systems team is already working on wiping and updating the servers. And so hopefully the Rustified servers will be up by the time the client update hits. But as far as what's coming in, and a little recapity cap here, we do have the tin can alarm coming in. This is a little handy gadget that for 100 wood, one rope, and two empty tuna cans, you can use as perimeter defense, not only around your base, but you can attach it to trees and various monuments around the map. And so it's just got this little tripwire, and when someone runs through the tripwire, it makes this kind of tin can clatter noise. And you can hear that from about 50 meters away. Given it's a level one workbench item, it is on the tech tree. It's not a default blueprint, but it's pretty cheap to research and pretty cheap to craft. It, given all that, does have a low HP. It's only 50 HP, and so it's pretty easy to break. The tripwire runs for about the length of about two foundations, so you can't run it like super, super far. But once that wire is laid, it is actually pretty hard to see the wire. So it's pretty easy to miss and walk over it. And again, not only around bases, but you can also use it around monuments and just be more aware of when people are sneaking up on you potentially. And it could be good for, setting up an ambush or avoiding getting ambushed, depending on where you are. And so that is the tin can alarm. Also, we've got item buoyancy has been added. And what this does basically is just gives a more realistic behavior to items dropped in water. Previously, they were falling at a real like fast rate, like similar, pretty much the same rate as something would free fall outside of water. And now they've upped that drag on the items to from zero point 0.1 to 7. So the item falls a lot less. You can see the bubbles coming from it. And they've added this physics impulse every 1 or 2 seconds to kind of simulate underwater currents. And there's also a new splash effect that activates when entering the water. So it's kind of a visual signal for, not only boosting the realism, but making it a little easier to find items that are dropped in the water. Next, we also have zipline improvements. And basically, what they did here was added 4 new dismount points. Ooh, client update is out. So good stuff. Client update just hit. Let me tweet about it. And I'll quickly finish this recap as you guys maybe restart Steam if you don't see the client and run that client update. And awesome job, Face Punch. So the update's out about 15 minutes early. We got a little extra fresh wipe action time today. And that's very cool to see. A shout out to everyone at Face Punch. Thank you for all your hard work throughout the weeks and years and for being so consistent with getting these updates out on time and smoothly. But anyway, so for the zipline improvements, to finish this recap, each platform is now equipped with 4 new dismount points, 2 on the side and 2 higher up, and these make it easier to transition from zipline to zipline without the need for such extensive climbing. Also, the ziplines have been adjusted to favor destination points that are both further away and higher up. And what that does is just increase the travel distance, but also reduce the need to climb ladders as much. And then finally, the maximum zipline distance has gone from 150 meters to 185 meters. So zipline should be just a little bit better now. Also, we got some changes to vendor stock and pricing. So the starting stock for vendors has increased to 20. And what is going on with the price changes is instead of changing 4 times per in-game day, so every 15 minutes, the price adjustments will happen just once every 5 in-game days, so once every 5 real-life hours. And this is aimed at stabilizing the prices and smoothing out dramatic price drops that typically occur a week or so into a longer wipe. And so those are the changes with vendors. There are a whole bunch of fixes. I'm not going to run through all of them on this, but I do have an article on rustafied.com that summarizes them. I'm sure they'll be on the dev blog as well. And for the first time today, again, I did post on X. I took all the text from my article and posted it there so you can more easily see it on X if you're just browsing there and don't feel like going to a separate website. And just in the realm of some other stuff, trains are able to smash through deployed cover barricades if they're blocking. They tuned the motorbike headlights. They doubled the elevator max floor limit. Traveling vendor stock will refill 33% of the vendor's total lifetime. Instead of it was infinite stock, and now it's got a static fixed stock that can run out, but then it will reload 33% into the vendor's time being out. And so that's basically 2 times while the vendor's out, you'll get a reload of that stock. And then finally, they added a print Archon clients command, which just basically prints a list of all connected Archon clients. And that's not so much for players, but for server admins who are looking for some more information and insight into that. But yeah, that is about it. I do want to thank everyone so much for tuning in. Again, we're not the developers of the game. We're not on the Face Punch payroll. We are just fans of the game who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And the only way we've been able to do this, going on 11 years now, is through the support of the community. So to each and every one of you, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for bits and subscribing on Twitch. And to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so very much because we wouldn't be able to do this without you. And so much love to you all. I hope you have a great wipe. We are going to raid someone just to throw some viewership at a cool streamer out there. So we're going to perform a raid here as we wind down. But of course, as always, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, 1 p.m. Eastern on Twitch to give you a update preview stream. And you can expect an article on rustafied.com every Thursday. And check us out on X at Rustafied for news and shorts throughout the week. And with that, also, A huge thank you to my co-MCs, Artemis and Miss D, as always, for tuning in and joining me here.
You're welcome as always, Bugs.
Yep, you're more than welcome.
And yeah, and with that, I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off, but hang out for a minute because we're going to raid this person momentarily. And yeah, much love to you all. Have a great one.